Battle Truth coming to you live and direct from the Battle Truth headquarters, man. Let's get right off into this, man. I needed to revisit. I needed to revisit the Shannon and Kierra story because a couple things I left out in this Shannon and Kierra story. One of the things that struck my attention, revisiting this party that he did in the documentary, right? So in the documentary or the rape-umentary, remember he said he met Keira Simeon on Backpage because he was throwing a party and wanted her to perform at the party. So he went on Backpage to hire a dancer to get her to dance for this party. She danced for this party. But before she danced to this party, him and her got cordial. They got fond of one another, according to him. They got to liking each other 3 weeks before the party. Met up with each other, had sex with each other the day of the party. Then he paid her up front. Then after the party, he drove her home. They stopped at a gas station. Come to find out the money she was paid in was fake. They got into it as a result of that. He got mad. One thing led to another, some altercation in the car. She ends up leaving, getting out of the vehicle, according to him. He sped off, not knowing she was holding on to the door. Then she sustained injuries, went to the hospital. However, it's not what the paperwork say. The paperwork don't back that up. The paperwork don't agree to that. The paperwork says something entirely different, which lead us to believe that, again, his story don't add up. And this is why I really believe that it's a rape, man. We're going to revisit these two women, and two major clues stick out against these women. Keira Simmons, the one he met on Backpage. Let's read this. This is what the document says about her situation, right? So, let's read what it says. Go back down a little bit. I just want to make sure I got this. So Miss Romanowski, the state's attorney. Let's see what she said. Okay. So she said that Judge Roth didn't even hear about the 2015 case of the rape victim, Shannon Smith, at the time when he deemed that the defendant unbiased, a significant threat of danger to the people, to persons in the community, as well as a significant risk of committing felonies while the trial was pending. And just because the defense talked about differences that were laid out, I would just let Your Honor know what the allegations are. Specifically, first, the indicted case that we have. Essentially, on that date, the victim in that case, Keira Simeon, she is on Backpage. There was never a question of what she does. She had arrived, frankly, to a John. She gave the number. She got the number. Keira Simeon got the number from a friend. The police have had contact with that friend. She gave the police the number, the phone number that was used to contact the defendant for a ride. See that? Right there is what I want to focus on. So this is what this dude did. He took, so somehow they found out she was on Backpage doing this case. So he made a story based upon her being on Backpage and made it try to line up with what he wanted to give the battle rap community. So for instance, look at what it says. Okay, so it says, essentially on the date, the victim in that case was Kiera Simmons. She is on Backpage, right? There was never a question of what she does. She had arrived, frankly, to a John. She got the number from a friend. The police have had contact with that friend. She gave the police the phone number that was used to contact this defendant for a ride. So basically, this is what happened that shut down his whole story and argument that he's using. So basically, what happened is this. So Kierra called the friend for a ride. The friend wasn't able to give her a ride, but gave her the number to Unbiased, who is supposed to be an Uber driver. So when she contacted him for a ride, as we read right here, it says, so essentially on that date, the victim in that case, Kiera Simeon, she is on Backpage. There was never a question of what she does. She had arrived, frankly, to the John. She got a number from a friend. The police have had contact with that friend. She gave the police the phone number that was used to contact this defendant for a ride. And on the way to the John's house, this defendant, Unbiased, sexually assaulted her. So basically right here, this is telling you, Kierra only know Unbiased from a friend of hers giving her the number. She called the number to get a ride. He showed up and ended up sexual assaulting her. You see that? So this clearly showing that he didn't meet her on Backpage. So apparently during the information of his trial and things that were coming out and background searches, his lawyers never must have came up with the fact of knowing she was on Backpage. Right? And what he did to the battle rap community was took what she was doing on Backpage and giving us a story about it. But if you pay attention to these documents right here, this was discovered because it's being used against her, and that's why the state's attorney said there was never a question of what she did, that she was on Backpage. There was never a question that she was on Backpage, what she does. That has nothing to do with what he did. So in other words, they must have been arguing the point that she was on Backpage selling herself. So the state's attorney no big deal. That's not the case. The case is this, man. She didn't know. She called to get a ride from. She got the number from her friend. Her friend gave her the number to call him for a ride because he do Uber services. And on the way to where she was going, he sexually assaulted her. So that right there killed his whole story. And notice what else it said. It said the police talked to that friend who gave her the number. Because remember, Unbiased had took all her stuff. She didn't have no phone or nothing. So all her stuff, people information is all tied in their phones. So when she went to the police in the hospital to report what had happened, she let the police know, my friend gave me the number to this Uber service because I needed a ride. And the police went and interviewed that friend to confirm Kiera's statement. And it came out to be true. The friend did give her the number to call him. So he never met her on Backpage, which meant it never was a party. And she never danced for his party. He just was using what they discovered about her to tell it to us in the battle rap community. And he built a story around it to tell to us so it could sound convincingly. When in reality, he actually sexually assaulted this girl according to the paperwork. See that? That killed his story right there. The police interviewed the friend to confirm that it was the friend who gave Kierra the number because Kierra needed a ride and the friend wasn't able to get her a ride. So told her, look, call this guy right here. He got an Uber service. So we see that. Now let's visit Shannon. Something else about Shannon we need to see. Okay. Let's visit Shannon. I want to show something. Okay. Okay, I believe this is Shannon. Okay. Okay, this is the Shannon situation, right? Let's read that. Okay. Now, sorry, Mrs. Romanowski. Go ahead, Mrs. Romanowski. Yes, Your Honor. And essentially on August 1st of 2015, the victim in that case indicated that she agreed to get a ride to get some gas for her vehicle from an unknown male. She described him just as the same exact description as the other victims indicated. He was driving an SUV. The suspect in that case passed several different gas stations and did not stop. She advised him several times to let her out. And that is when this suspect drove her into 5040 Snapfinger Woods Drive, which is a family practice group on that road. In the parking lot, he forced oral sex and intercourse with this victim. Although he did not have any weapons, the victim indicated that he said, if you make a mother effing move, I'll kill you, because she was in fear. She complied. The defendant did use a condom and then for sex and then ejaculated on her face and then fled the scene. He ejaculated on her face and fled the scene. She immediately ran to the nearest location where there were people, contacted law enforcement, and had no idea who this person was. And so the case was an open pending case, but for the DNA that was found on her face from what she said matches this defendant. So let's go back and look at that. So the DNA that was found on her face from what she said matches this defendant. Now listen at this, y'all. This is a clear picture of a woman being raped. This is clear. Let's look at all the clues in here. She's still wearing the nut on her face to the point that she's all in front of strangers who actually have witnessed it too. Look what it says right here. Verse 8. He then ejaculated on her face and then fled the scene. She immediately ran to the nearest location. Verse 10, where there were people. So she wearing nut on her face around all these people. That don't sound like somebody who just having sex and you didn't pay me. This is a rape victim. Purposely wearing a nut on her face of the person who just assaulted her because she know that that's evidence against him. Now think about it. If him and her were just having casual sex, like he wanted to make it saying consensual sex, why after he leaves, she's still wearing a nut on her face and they outside in the public? Think about that. Why? That don't make no sense at all. Then he said this. Look at how stupid this is. He said, His lawyer said, this is a case of two people having consensual sex, and when they didn't get paid, they found it vindictive to charge him with rape. So let's look at the situation then. He hired him to have sex. She had sex with him. After he done, he don't pay her. But yet, he leave and she got nut all over her face outside in the public. And she run to where the nearest location that were people at to tell them what just happened to her. If this was consensual sex and things, she would have wiped her face off. This woman not only went in front of all these people wearing a nut on her face, she actually went to the hospital with the nut on her face too. She didn't know who he was because he was a stranger. She didn't know who he was. So she couldn't get him a name, an address, or a phone number. Or a phone number. That's why it was just sitting up. His DNA was just sitting up in the bank with no identity to it, because he hadn't been ran through the system before. Only for 2 years later for him to rape somebody else. Then when they swabbed his mouth and ran him through the system, now we got a match because the DNA now got a name and a face and a social security number and a blood type. Now we got a match. All these details show a rape, not no consensual sex, from both Kierra and Shannon. That's a rape victim. That's not a woman who voluntarily, consensually given sex. That's a rape victim. You pick her up, you drive her to an undisclosed place, sexually assault her, then flee the scene. She hysterical about this. She run to the near people, tell them exactly what happened to her. They see the evidence all on her face. She go to the hospital. They take the nut off her face so that they can get a trace of who he is, only to find he ain't been in the system yet. That's rape. That's exactly what that is. That's rape. The pending case, but for the DNA that was found on her face from what she said matches this defendant. So it's not just as you said, the pessimists, where there are two supposed prostitutes that are saying that they were raped. There's a third victim that the defense hasn't even talked to you about. There's a third victim that the defendant hasn't even talked to you about. So this dude right here is sad, pathetic. So clearly right there we see, man, those were rapes. Those were rapes. Terrible. But it just proved how much of a liar he is. Those were rapes. Then he gonna say he hired a private investigator, and the private investigator found out, came up, and they produced documents showing the courts. Oh, he been knowing them. We got text messages of them back and forth, them talking about having sex together and everything. How? The woman had no number on you at all. So how you got text messages on her? She didn't even have a phone number to get at people. He's such a liar, man. But it is what it is. I just wanted to visit them too, man, because that stuck out even more detailed. Dude is a liar, man. It's your boy Battle Truth. It ain't my judgment lesson question. It's yours. Subscribe to Battle Truth.